Welcome to Off Duty. I'm Wendy Bounds. Well, we've brought you Jerry Springer and Maury Povich. They are the titans of modern-day tabloid TV. But what about the man who started it all? I'm talking about Morton Downey Jr. He reigned in the 1980s with in-your-face broadcasting. And I recently sat down with the three filmmakers behind the new movie Evocateur. It is all about Mort's life. Let's take a listen.
Crime! Like you in the White House, I'd puke on you!
Oh, yeah.
You're despicable. You're a piece of...
You're screaming and yelling at these kind of abstract, sort of vague targets.
You got it! Sit up!
Now, your film's showing at the Tribeca Film Festival right now. Do most people going in to watch it even remember who Morton Downey Jr. was?
I think there'll be some familiarity with his name, but I think our whole message was to try and introduce a whole new audience to the wonderment that is Morton Downey Jr.
And he was very flamboyant. I mean, he's known for things like saying zip it and the chair throwing. I mean, he really was one of the forerunners in this very aggressive talk show format. What was it that made you guys want to delve into the topic of Morton Downey Jr. right now at this point in time?
Right. Well, it's a very timely issue because he was really one of the earlier populist entertainers on television. I mean, he was, you know, out there blasting the liberals every night. It was great stuff. His time sort of came and went. We thought it'd be interesting to take a look at not just reviving Downey to let us all live through him again, really enjoyable stuff, but to take a look at the role of the populist entertainer today.
Did you think that Morton Downey Jr. was more out there than the current talk show hosts, or do you think he was sort of tame compared to some of them?
I think that he sort of paved the road for them in a way in allowing for this kind of talking to the audience about these topics to be something that you could sort of, if you're maybe from the blue collar, he made it accessible to a wide audience. That's where the similarity is. Then the act has sort of had its own nuance. He had an audience there where he would get into their face and scream, and the audience would scream at the guests.
Now, I remember watching this show, and the audience remembers, I mean, they would basically set themselves up for a huge beating. They get up and they argue with him, and then they just kind of wait, right? They'd flinch, and that was his setup. Was it an act? You interviewed a lot of people who knew him very well. Did they think this was the real Morton Downey Jr. on this show, or again, was it an act?
Morton Downey Sr., Morton Downey Jr.'s father, was also best friends with Joe Kennedy. They had a house in Cape Cod next to the Kennedys. You know, Mort grew up next door to Camelot, so he grew up in this sort of liberal, you know, northeastern liberal background. And so he comes out as this kind of right-wing conservative talk show host, you know. So there's what kind of things were motivating him, whether it was the performance, whether it was, you know, a reaction to his upbringing, to his father. All these things kind of played into, you know, what you saw on TV sort of was constructed.
If he were still on the air today, if he were still alive and on the air, what do you think his ratings would be like?
Well, it's a tough question because he killed his career. So it would sort of depend on whether he was able to, you know,
America
rebuild.
loves a comeback story. Come on, he can do it.
If people were more forgiving, I mean, I remember Morton Downey Jr.'s show after he came back, and it was CNBC, and there was a few different incarnations of it.
He was even in some movies like Revenge of the Nerds 3 or something.
Right. I mean, Morton Downey Jr. after that 2-year period, it was no one that even fanboys like ourselves cared about.
Right.
So it would be a tough sell. I mean, everything about him that you sort of bought was the intensity of his passion for these ideas. So as soon as you realize that, you know, whether or not is he real, is he faking things or what, you don't see that passion anymore. So you're like, okay, you know, that's not really interesting.
And speaking of Mad Men, are you all watching the other Mad Men? I mean, the one on AMC. Those guys, they smoke and they drink and they throw things too. They also get the girls. Well, at least Don Draper does. And Elizabeth Holmes, she's here right now to teach us how to get Megan Draper's cat eyes. Oh. He likes it.
Hi there, I'm Elizabeth Holmes of the Wall Street Journal, and this is how you get Mad Men's Megan Draper look. Betty, Joan, and Peggy will always have a special place in our hearts, but this season's Mad Men style standout has to be Megan Draper. She's the new, younger wife of Don and rocks a serious cat eye and nude lip. To show us how to get our Zooby Zooby Zoo on, we've come to the Mac Pro Store and my good friend Gina Batelli. So where do we start?
we're going to just prep the eyelids so that you can take on that cat eye.
Okay.
So I'm going to use a little bit of transparent powder. And what this is going to do is just help absorb any extra oil that sometimes happens on the eyelids so that we know that eyeliner is going to go on nice and even.
And I love that that's colorless, right?
Yeah, so you can't screw it up.
Super easy.
I'm going to use a kind of mistake-proof eyeliner. It's called Black Track Fluid Line. It's a gel-based eyeliner, and what I love about it is you have a little bit of dry down time, so things don't just instantly dry down and you're like stuck with the look. You can kind of blend and move and that kind of thing. The brush I'm using is an Artistry tapered brush.
Oh, wow.
So it gives nice precise edges. I just ensure that the eyeliner is saturated throughout the entire brush, so you get almost like a felt tip marker application. I'm actually going to start with the wing and do the top of the line last.
Okay.
And what helps for this technique is if you look straight into the mirror,
Okay.
and that way I have the ability to get a nice, precise wing. The nice thing about a wing liner is it works on a lot of eye shapes, but the tough thing is knowing where to find it on your eyes. What I like to do is, by having you look straight on, I know how the eyeliner is going to sit on your eye shape.
Oh, really impressive.
Okay, I think we're good with our balance.
Okay.
It looks symmetrical. The nice thing is when you're looking straight on, you're seeing nice even wings.
Okay.
And the easy part now is just doing that liner on the top. I actually moved to a brush that's even easier for the top of the lid.
Oh.
It's an angle brush. And just like my other brush, I like to really saturate both edges of it so I get a nice razor sharp edge. I already created the symmetry on the wing, so it's just a matter of connecting the line across the rest of the eyelid. And I'm pressing that perfect crisp edge of the brush to ensure that my line is really, really even. If you have the luxury of a nice brush, it's actually really easy to get a perfect edge. Nice, that looks beautiful on you.
I like it.
Okay, so what would the 60s be without tons of mascara?
I mean, really.
So I'm gonna use a formula of mascara that's like perfect for this. It's called Hot and Naughty. It's this very, very luxurious thick wand.
Okay.
I'm gonna have you just look down, and we're just going to apply 3 generous coats of mascara. I find when I'm trying to build my mascara too, it really is helpful when you can get at the root of the lash.
Oh, I love it.
Very dramatic, oh my goodness. Now let's get those lower lashes. So to get in the lower lashes, I'm gonna go to the pink side.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so it's a bit more of a petite wand.
I love that there's one mascara with 2 brushes. That's
I know,
fantastic.
it just makes life so much easier. I'm just trying to really, again, focus on those roots of the lashes and just pull the mascara through so it looks nice and even. Okay, to balance out this look now, it means a nice nude lip. You know, Megan wears a bit of a nude, but it's got a little bit of a peachiness to it, which I think is, again, so iconic
and
of the
so
60s.
different than what her co-stars wear, because it's usually a bright red lip or something like that that's the very sort of the earlier 60s, and so the nude feels really fresh.
Yeah, I think so. I chose a lipstick. It's one of my favorite formulas right now. It's a cream sheen. It's a cream. It's long wearing. So the color is called Shy Girl.
Which Megan is not.
So when I'm doing a nude lip, what helps me is to actually use an eyeshadow brush.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is traditionally an eyeshadow brush at MAC. The brush has a nice precision edge on it, so I can get those edges of your lips looking really clean.
And there's no liner or anything here. It's
No
just the lip.
liner, yeah, I'm keeping it simple with lips. Beautiful.
Excellent.
It looks really great.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So Dawn, you're gonna call me, right?
For more tips, tricks, and the latest style news, keep it at youtube.com/WSJ. You can find me on Twitter at eHolmesWSJ.
Well, we just went back in time, and now let's take you around the globe to the Beijing Auto Show, where Dan Neal just filed his latest report on the sleek new SUV Lamborghini concept car. While you're watching, tell us what you think.
And here it is, the star of the show. This is the world premiere of the Lamborghini Urus concept SUV. About 4 years away from production, if VW Group approves it. Of course, they certainly will. They haven't decided on a powertrain. There are a lot of things that must go on before this car is a reality, but the exciting part is that they've taken the styling vocabulary of their low, sleek, amazing sports cars, and they've converted, I think fairly successfully, into an SUV morphology. And it's beautiful, It is desirable. I think it will frustrate a lot of people who wanted to say, see, you can't make a Lamborghini SUV. Clearly, you can. And by the way, the color? Chinese red.
Well, finally, after all that yelling with Morton, all the fast cars with Dan, it's time to slow things down. Time for Slow Food Fast with Kitty Greenwald. This week, she's cooking up asparagus and shrimp. Watch and enjoy.
Hi, I'm Kitty Greenwald, and this is Slow Food Fast. Today we're making poached shrimp, butter braised asparagus, and a nice rich hollandaise sauce. It's a 3-part dish that's ideal for a springtime lunch, thanks to the thick, luscious hollandaise sauce. It comes from Sean Brock of Charleston, South Carolina, and his restaurants are Husk and McCrady's. The first thing you want to do to get this recipe done as quickly as possible is to prepare your poaching liquid. 2 to 3 washed lemons halved, so you don't need to slice it. We're going to go simple and add a fresh bay leaf, 1 tablespoon peppercorns, 1 cup white wine, and a quart vegetable stock or water. And this is going to simmer on the back stove while I pull together my hollandaise sauce. There are a few ways of making a hollandaise sauce. You can make hollandaise in a blender. We're not going to do that. We're just going to whisk the yolk slowly over the double boiler and incorporate the butter as we whisk. I'm setting up a loosey-goosey double boiler. I'm bringing the water up to a boil. And then I'm going to play with the heat some as I whisk the yolks. So it's 2 yolks. I'm going to add a tablespoon of vinegar, a pinch of salt, and a bit of cayenne. And now here's where you're going to be impressed by my strength. It's some whisking. So before I put the bowl over the simmering water, I'm going to start whisking the eggs so that they're frothy and well combined. And you're going to see, as I continue to cook, that they thicken. What I don't want is for these eggs to scramble. By taking this on and off the heat, I'm just controlling the temperature. If it's gotten too hot off the heat, I'll continue to whisk and whisk out some of that heat. It's grown in volume and lightened in color. And the consistency Sean recommends us getting it up to is heavy cream. So that's about thick enough. So slowly, I'm going to take an unapologetic amount of butter and whisk it in. It's 1 stick, working little by little, playing with the gentle heat. So now that those 2 are incorporated and they've melted in, I'm adding another 2 pieces. Woo-hoo. I'm adding my last 2 pieces of butter, and I'm whisking. I'm getting hungry, and that's it. We made it. You're gonna season it to taste. And you wanna use plenty of lemon juice here. And this can just hold as is for about an hour. A blessing of springtime is asparagus season. What you want to do is cut off the end, which is dry, which you don't want. Where it naturally snaps is sort of the point where you can use as your measure for cutting a whole bunch. Snap 1, line up the whole bunch, and just cut through them all. If you feel like peeling them, go ahead and peel them. Some people think this skin can be bitter. I don't really mind it, but here it is, peeled, no big deal. Set your pan over medium to medium-high heat. Add 3 tablespoons butter. If these all fit in one layer, I'm just gonna put it all in. Season it with a bit of salt. Num, num, num. Make sure they're cooking evenly. Roll them around. And we're gonna cook till they're just tender. Probably about 5 minutes, but don't be afraid to taste as you go. Okay, those look ready. We've got ourselves some nice asparagus. I'm gonna move the stock to this burner, and it's been simmering now the length of the recipe, so it's ready for the shrimp. We're using a pound of peeled and deveined shrimp. Turn off the broth, put the shrimp in, and let it just cook in the very hot water. What you want to be mindful of is that you don't overcook it. I'm going to put a lid on it and let it sit for about 3 minutes. Since not overcooking is important, I'm not gonna let it go too long. You can tell shrimp already not only when they change color, but also when they start to curl. When they're totally hunchback and shriveled up, that means that you've gone too far. What you're hoping to retain here is a delicate quality to the meat. Squirt a little lemon juice over these shrimp. And I'm gonna show you how to plate. Nice and green. Couple shrimp. And the force behind this dish, hollandaise sauce. I'm sure it tastes delicious. Worth all the whisking. It's very nice and lemony. The lemon cuts through the butter glossed asparagus. And the hollandaise is sort of the crowning glory. It's so good. And that's today's Slow Food Fast recipe. I hope you enjoy it outside on a nice spring day.
That's it for today's WSJ Off Duty. Baseball fans, check back with us later in the week where we're going to be coming to you from Boston's legendary Fenway Park. I'm Wendy Bounds.